Hi, I'm Regular Zach, and this is my limited set review for the Edge of Eternities Magic the Gathering set. Today we are talking all about the bonus sheet. So the bonus sheet is 45 lands that go into packs. I believe they're seeded like one per pack. That tends to be how we do bonus sheets. So we're going to go over them, talk about every single card that is in the bonus sheet, and rate them on a scale from A to F, A's being the best, F's being the worst. And we will dive right into that. Just remember, this is a limited set review. So, of course, we are only talking about draft and sealed, not talking about standard or commander or any sort of constructed formats. This is only these lands in regards to the draft and sealed format. All right, let's get into some things. First off, we got Mutavault. So this is a perfect example of a card that I would be interested in playing of the lands that we're going to see. Because as we go into this list, you will find that many of them are so unplayable and bad. They're really cool lands that will be helpful to open, and the art is really cool, and they'll be great for other constructed formats. But for draft purposes, a lot of these just don't do very much at all. The ones I am interested in tend to be a creature. So Mutavault right here is Mutavault. It taps for colorless and you can pay one. This land becomes a 2/2 creature with all creature types until end turn. It's still a land. I would put this into my deck so that this gets like a C level thing. A C level grade. I'm not going to go too crazy on wanting to have this card in my deck because our mana bases in Limited are so, well, limited that we want to make sure that we can actually cast our spells, and putting colorless lands into our deck does make it a little bit harder for us to actually cast our colored spells. So it worries me just a little bit putting something that's colorless into my deck. But this does make a creature, which every once in a while does, happen to be important. And this technically is a Kavu. So if you have any things that care about Kavus in your green-red decks, this card does help you with that. So that is kind of funny to think about. So C for the Mutavault. Let's look at all the other cards that make creatures or are creatures. So next up we have Blinkmoth Nexus, which is a land that taps for colorless. You can pay one, and this land becomes a 1/1 Blinkmoth artifact creature token with flying until end of turn. It's still a land. And you can pay one and tap it, and target Blinkmoth creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Not nearly as exciting the pumping the actual Blinkmoth itself, because you probably only have this one. But being able to just ping in with this card, I might probably like this a bit better than Mutavault. Just being able to have a 1/1 flyer whenever you feel like it does seem pretty nice. And if you can get counters on some of these creatures, these are really cheap to turn into creatures, so that would be really helpful. Another C-level card that I would actually put into my deck, even though it only taps for colorless. I think you can find some use cases for this, and I like Blinkmoth Nexus. I also like Inkmoth Nexus. Look at that! It taps for colorless, and you can pay one. This land becomes a 1/1 Phyrexian Blinkmoth artifact creature with flying and infect until end turn. It's still land. So it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters, and then it deals damage to your opponents with poison counters. There's one other poison card in the set, so if you do happen to have the glorious pool or the glorious picks of Inkmoth Nexus and that Virulent Silencer, the artifact, that would be a pretty funny deck. But if you have both Inkmoth and Blinkmoth, they can, pump each other up. So that's kind of nice. Another card I would actually put into my deck just because, hey, 10 pings in the air with your Inkmoth. There you go. Boom. Your opponent's dead. So that would be pretty sweet. But yeah, it's, a little bit iffy. I would definitely not pick these three cards that we just talked about early. Like, they're not early picks. They're just cards that you could actually put into your deck. Right? They're not like A's. They're not fantastic. They're not B's. They don't pull you into this kind of archetype. It's just like, yeah, if this comes around, you might want a little utility in your mana base. You could take one and you could play one. I think that would be totally fine. Next up, we have the best lands, honestly, just to spoil this video. These are the ones that I think that you should actually be playing. You should be putting these into your deck if they are your colors. So we have all of these 10 different creature lands from, I believe these ones were from Zendikar, the original Zendikar. So we'll start off with Celestial Colonnade. It enters tapped and it taps for white or blue, and you can pay 3 white-blue until end of turn. This land becomes a 4/4 white and blue elemental creature token with flying and vigilance. It's still a land. That's pretty sweet. This is one of the best ones because it has flying. It just turns into a Sarah Angel. Pretty strong. But the biggest thing about, like, these cards, obviously they turn into creatures. I'm excited about the creature lands. That is what I think is strong. But it also is one of the only ways to fix your mana. Like, we don't have a shock land that taps for white and blue in this format. We only have 5 shock lands, and they don't tap for those colors. So if you're white and blue, this is really the only way to help fix your mana. So I would definitely take this. If you like are looking at it at all, it might, I don't know if it's going to wheel. I don't know how high people are going to be picking these cards. But I would definitely jump on any of these cards that would help me fix my mana. Next up, we have Creeping Tar Pit, which we do have the shock land for. We have Watery Grave. It taps for blue and black, and you can pay 1 blue black until in a turn this creature becomes a 3/2 blue and black elemental creature token. It can't be blocked. Also, a great creature, but fixing our mana, same thing. I think these are all just C pluses. I'm going to run through these pretty quickly. I think this whole video will be fairly quick because it's either you can play this card or you can't play this card kind of thing. Next up, we have Lava Claw Reaches. More of a premium card because Rakdos does not have a shock land in this set. It taps for red and black, and you can pay 1 black red. Until end of turn, this land becomes a 2/2 black and red elemental creature with X. This creature gets plus X plus 0 until end of turn. Not as excited about this actual creature part, but you know the utility is there. But it fixes your mana. Fantastic. C+. Next up, we have Raging Ravine. This is actually one of the ones that would be kind of interesting because we have Raging Ravine and we have Stomping Grounds, and there's one more land that actually taps for green-red. So it's actually the most abundant of all the like lands that we have. The green-red ones are the most fixing, even though they're at high rarities and like bonus sheets. But anyway, it taps for green and red, and you can pay 2 red and green. Until end of turn, this land becomes a 3/3 red and green elemental creature with whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Sweet, that's a nice little boost. Any of these, like, it all feels like you're just kind of sprinkling a little bit of extra value into your deck. A little bit of strength, a little bit of, you know, mana smoothness, and a little bit of, oh, I ran out of stuff to do, here's something in my lands. So I'm happy with all these. C pluses all around the board. Stirring Wildwood taps for green and white. 1 green white until end of turn this land becomes a 3/4 green and white elemental creature token with reach. Awesome. Fixes your lands. This is another one of those that we don't have a shock land for, so happy to see this one. Happy to pick this up if I'm playing green-white, which might be often, because there's a lot of cool counter stuff going on. Next up, we have Shambling Vent. It's the white-black one. You can pay 1 white-black until end of turn this land becomes a 2/3 white and black elemental creature token with lifelink. Godless Shrine is in the format, so this would be another way to fix your mana if you're white and black. So super excited for that. We have Wandering Femoral, which is the blue-red one, which we pay 2 blue-red. Until end of turn, this land becomes a 1/4 blue and red elemental creature token with 0. Switch this creature's power and toughness until end of turn. Again, if we're in the artifact deck, we want to be able to get our colors together. C pluses all across the board. Hissing Quagmire is black and green. 1 black-green until end of turn, this land becomes a 2/2 black-green elemental creature token with Death Touch. Fantastic. Needle Spires. We also get red and white. We also have a shock land for this one as well. So 2 red-white until end of turn, this land becomes a 2/1 red and white elemental creature token with double strike. Very helpful. Red-white decks also will utilize these quite well because you'll be trading off a bunch of creatures and you'll need something to keep going. Lumbering Falls is our final one in this little chunk. It's green and blue. It's 2 green-blue until end of turn, this land becomes a 3/3 green and blue elemental creature token with hexproof. Another great one that will be really helpful for your green-blue decks. And yeah, super sweet. All those C pluses, all those lands, anything that just turns into a creature will be awesome. And the ones that actually tap for colors get a nice little bump there. So really happy with those. As we move into some other harder cards to talk about. Ancient Tomb. Should we play Ancient Tomb in our draft deck? This is an interesting conversation because Ancient Tomb is a land. It taps for 2 colorless mana, but it deals 2 damage to you. And that happens every single time you tap it. So it depends on if you really have a lot of just artifacts and not a lot of straight colored cards, because having this early is really helpful. But if you take like 4, 6, 8 damage from this, that's so awful in limited. And In Constructed, it doesn't matter nearly as much because your game plans are more, you built your deck knowing you'd have Ancient Tomb. Obviously, you can do that in Draft as well, but I think losing that much life to your land is going to be really brutal. And you will be stuck in situations where you're like, well, I can either play this using my Ancient Tomb or I just don't get to play anything this turn. And so most of the times you'll just choose to play something and you're just going to lose so much life. I'm going to give Ancient Tomb like a D. You could put it in your deck. It does function the way it's supposed to, but I just don't think you really should. I'm a little worried about it. I think you could just die. Yeah. It worries me. Ancient Tomb definitely worries me. Next up is Blast Zone. This land enters with a charge counter on it. It taps for colorless, and you can spend XX, tap it, put X charge counters on this land. You can pay 3 mana, tap it, sacrifice it, destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of charge counters on this land. Sure. I'm not a big fan of Blast Zone just in general. Most of the time because I'm not the one that wants to be wiping the board, even though I talk about board wipes all the time. This one is very telegraphed, only hits certain things, and is very slow. So with all that being said, no, I don't really like this. It's the D again. It does function, so there is that. But besides that, I just don't know if we want to be playing this card. I think a lot of these bonus sheet cards we just don't want to play in Limited. It's kind of sad. It's sad in the sense that we don't really get to play them, but it is nice when the bonus sheet cards aren't the best cards in the set, which kind of happens sometimes. Like the strongest cards are just like, oh, I really hope that I open that Atraxa, which isn't even in the set. So it's nice in that sense. Next up, we have Bonder's Enclave. It taps for colorless. You can pay 3 mana, tap it, draw a card. Activate only if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. Okay, so I actually do like this ability because you could put this in not all of your decks, but there is a black uncommon that has 4 power that's really, cheap. But making sure you have a bunch of bigger creatures. The fact that, later in the game, you're like, well, I guess I'll just draw a card. That's pretty powerful. So I would actually give this like a C minus, kind of in that range where I'm more interested in playing this depending on the deck that I'm playing. You would have to build around this quite a bit just to make sure you can actually draw that card. But land that continuously draws cards is very powerful. Next up, we have Cascading Cataracts. It's an indestructible land that taps for colorless, and you can pay 5 mana and tap it to add 5 mana in any combination of colors. I just don't think this is worth putting into our deck. This is an F. Like, yes, it can help us cast some of those uncommons that are like 2 green, white, stuff like that. But it just lowers the amount of like planes you're gonna draw if you put this card to your deck. So I think we'd rather just not play this card at all and just play our basics that actually tap for colors. Leave this out of it. We don't even want to play it for like Wooburg. Like that's just not even interesting to us. So F for Cascading Cataracts. Next up we have Cathedral of War. It says this land enters tapped and it has Exalted. So whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn and taps for colorless. Cathedral of War is actually a card you could probably put into your deck. I just don't know if it's powerful enough. Is the effect of a tap land that taps for not colors and you just get +1/+1 to one of your creatures? I think we'd rather just go wider and not even have this at all. Yeah, I don't think I'm really excited for this card. I'm going to give it a D. You could put it in your deck, but I'm not really excited to do that myself. Next up, we have Contested War Zone. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, that creature's controller gains control of this land. You can tap it and add colorless, and you can pay 1 and tap it. Attacking creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. Okay, interesting. This card you can play. It's nice. It's a little anthem for your aggressive decks. And then hopefully you're attacking enough that your opponent doesn't want to attack you back. Or they just can't use it nearly as well as you can. So this seems sweet. I think you could put this as a C. I would play this card. Aggressive decks for sure would play this card. Yeah, red-white decks, white-blue decks that have lots of flyers and stuff, so you can get it back and things. It does kind of suck that you would like lose your land and then maybe they'd have it for a while and you just kind of ramped them. But I think, you might just be able to have this card and then just play it and use it the turn that you need to win the game. I also like that. So having that utility in your land slot seems strong. And yeah, I like this. See, we could play this card. Next up, we have Crystal Quarry, which taps for colorless or 5 mana and tap it, add Wooburg. Nope, I don't want to play this card. I don't want to play the Wooburg cards that are in the set. There's 2 of them. And I don't want to play this card that helps me cast them. I just think all of that's just bad. Don't do it. It's going to be upsetting. Don't play that card. Deserted Temple. It taps for a colorless, and you can pay 1 and tap it to untap target land. No, we don't have any special things that we're doing here. The only other lands that you would want to really untap are from the bonus sheet, and I don't think you want to put too many colorless cards or colorless lands in your deck. So no, Deserted Temple, not interested. That's an F. Next up, we have Dust Bowl. It taps for colorless. You can pay 3 and tap it and sacrifice it to, sacrifice a land. It doesn't have to be Dust Bowl. You get to destroy target non-basic land. Your opponent's not going to have enough non-basic lands that you care about. Yes, this does blow up the planets. So there's like a sideboard potential for this being something. But in the end, I don't think people should even be playing those planets anyway. So this card's just bad. It just doesn't really do anything in your deck, and it puts a colorless land in your deck, which is not good. So let's get rid of it. F. Echoing Deeps is a cave. You may have this land enter tapped as a copy of any land in a graveyard, except it's it's a cave in addition to its other types. Sorry, that little thing is in the way. I couldn't read the whole card. Anyway, it taps for colorless unless it's a copy of one of the cards in the graveyard, which means it taps for whatever that is, which, no, I don't want this in my deck. This is an F. This was an F when we played with it in Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Nope. Next up, we have Eldrazi Temple. It taps for a colorless or taps for 2 colorless. Spend this mana only to cast Eldrazi spells or activate abilities of colorless Eldrazi. There is 1 Eldrazi in the set, and I don't think that you want to be playing this land specifically just to play that 1 Eldrazi. Seems like a waste to me. It seems like a funny combo, I guess, but yeah, don't play this card. This is another F. Just a whole slew of Fs. Bonus sheet really failing us this time. Next up, we have Endless Sands, which is a desert. It taps for colorless. You can pay 2 and tap it, exile target creature you control. And you can pay 4 mana, tap it, sacrifice this land, return each creature card exiled with this land to the battlefield under its owner's control. All right, so this one is actually kind of interesting. This was from Amonkhet, and you could, whenever your opponent was trying to exile or get rid of one of your creatures, you just exile it instead, and then later you just get to crack this and bring a bunch of them back. I think that ultimately it's not really a good game plan, and you probably don't want to be spending your time doing that, but it actually has some type of utility, which is interesting. You also have the ability to like warp something and then exile it with this, which you're going to exile with warp anyway, so I don't know why you would do that, but you can do it if you want. But ultimately, I think this is still a D. It is a card that technically would function in your deck. I just don't know if we should be playing it. Yeah. Next up, we have Gemstone Caverns. It's a legendary land. And it says, if this card is in your opening hand and you're not the starting player, you may begin the game with Gemstone Caverns on the battlefield with a luck counter on it. If you do, exile a card from your hand. It taps for colorless, and if Gemstone Caverns has a luck counter on it, instead, add 1 mana of any color. Okay. This one's pretty interesting. I actually haven't played with Gemstone Caverns much at all. It seems very powerful in formats where you are hoping to get this. Like you're planning to be able to have 2 mana on turn 1 if you went second. Like you can side this in for the game that you're not on the play. If you're just rolling the dice, I don't know if we want to play a land where we have to exile a card from our hand to have the extra like little boost. I think we need that card pretty badly. Mulliganing in limited is pretty brutal, and getting a jump on your lands for like a turn or 2, but you'll be a card down, so you might even get screwed. Might be bad. Technically, you could play this card, but I think you probably shouldn't. I don't really want to mulligan just to get that little jump on my opponent. It seems fun, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. This is like a D because it technically works, but I don't think we should play it. Next up, we have Grove of the Burn Willows. This is what I was talking about earlier with the Gruul cards. It taps for colorless, or it taps for red or green, and each opponent gains 1 life when you do that. So it's the opposite of a pain land. It gives your opponent life. Sweet. This is awesome. C+ for this card. If you're playing green and red, put this card into your deck. Giving your opponent life is not that big a deal because it fixes your mana and you're probably smashing their face anyway. So pretty stoked on this card. There were 3 lands that fix for Gruul, so that's pretty nice, even though they're hard to get, but still worth noting. Next up, we have High Market. It taps for colorless, or you can tap it, sacrifice a creature, you gain 1 life. Nope. F. Don't want to play this card. Next. Inventor's Fair is a legendary land. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more artifacts, you gain 1 life. You can tap for colorless or pay 4 mana, tap it, sacrifice Inventor's Fair. Search your library for an artifact card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Activate only if you control 3 or more artifacts. Okay. Inventor's Fair I don't hate. In an artifact deck, just gaining 1 life every turn seems fine, and being able to tutor up something at some point if you have nothing else to do could be worth it. I could give this like a C. I could play this card in an artifact deck. If you don't have artifacts, if you're not gaining the life every turn, definitely not worth it. So heavy artifact decks, blue-red deck, I would play this card. Green-black deck, I would not. So take that with, what you will. Obviously, it says artifacts on it, so you want to play a bunch of artifacts in your deck, but like a C-, maybe a D+. Not obsessed, but would think about playing this card. Next up, we have Lotus Field. It has hexproof. This land enters tapped. When this land enters, sacrifice 2 lands, and it taps for 3 mana of any 1 color. Nope. Don't want to play Lotus Field. Don't have any way to abuse it, which is the only way it's good. So, yeah, don't play Lotus Field. I guess there is a situation where you could sacrifice your lands, and if you have some of the cards that let you play lands from your graveyard, that could be okay, but ultimately, I think we just don't want to worry about this. This is like what that Deserted Temple wants to untap and stuff, but you're not going to get both Lotus Field and Deserted Temple ever, really, but who knows? There's a possibility, I guess, but I'm not obsessed. At least this taps for colors. That's nice. Next card is Mana Confluence. All right, this one's interesting. You can tap it, you pay 1 life to add 1 mana of any color. Okay. So it's a pain land all the time. You never get to not be pinged by this card. And I like Mana Confluence most of the time, and we just got a new one from Starting Town, but I don't... This one's hard. Mana Confluence, it does fix your mana, but it pains you all the time. I'm probably going to give this like a C-. Like, you could play this card if you wanted to be really aggressive and had a bunch of colored pips. But if you're not aggressive, this card's probably not amazing in your deck. And you probably just don't play it. Yeah, that's rough. But you can play it. I'll probably play this if I see it. I love Mana Confluence, but if you take like 4 or 5 damage from this, that's really bad. That's pretty brutal. Next up, we have Meteor Crater. You choose a color of a permanent you control. Add 1 mana of that color. No, because it doesn't tap for anything if you don't have any permanents that are colored. So that sucks. This is just a bad card. You should just not be playing this at all. Like, this is awful. Yeah, don't play Meteor Crater. It doesn't tap for mana. You have to choose a permanent you control. And if you have no permanents that you control that are any colors, you don't get any mana. Sucks. Next up, Mirror Pool. This land enters tapped, and you can tap to add a colorless. You pay 2 and colorless, sacrifice this land, copy it, target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. You can pay 4 and a colorless to tap it, sacrifice it, create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. Nope. This card needs colorless mana to use any of the activated abilities, which means you have to put even more colorless cards or mana into your deck. And then you're only playing colorless cards, and most of them are not very good, so you shouldn't be playing this card. And this is bad. So this is an F. Don't put this card into your deck. It's really, really bad. Next up, we have Mystifying Maze. Well, actually kind of interesting. You can tap it to add colorless, or you can pay 4 mana, tap it, exile target attacking creature and opponent controls. At the beginning of the next end step, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this is kind of funny because Mystifying Maze can wipe out tokens, first of all, so your opponent just doesn't want to attack you with tokens. If they have a bunch of counters, you get to reset the counters or get rid of them. If they attack you with a spacecraft that has charge counters on it, you get rid of the charge counters. So the exiling stuff is pretty interesting. if you get to use this as like a nuke. If you're using this as just like, oh, you don't get to attack me this turn, not nearly as good, but if they have a bunch of stuff going on, it could be interesting. I'm going to give it a D because a lot of creatures do have ETBs and stuff, so you'll get to trigger that kind of thing. But, you know, if you're sideboarding against some sort of token deck or something that has, well, I guess token deck would not be a very good situation because they go really wide, and so spending 5 mana to try to get rid of one of their cards is not very good. But if they have big tokens or creatures that have large counters, or they're trying to do the spacecraft thing, this could be useful in those situations. But still probably a D, but interesting. Next up is Nesting Grounds. It taps for colorless, and you can pay 1 and tap it, remove a counter, or sorry, not remove, move a counter from target permanent you control onto another target permanent, activate only as a sorcery. So a way to move your +1/+1 counters around and stuff. I think this is probably like a D-. Like, we're not super interested in sorcery speeding, just moving counters around, probably. But technically it can work. You could move charge counters around too, I guess, but really, really slow. And just make sure you put your counters on the right thing at the beginning. Maybe just do that. But it technically could be played. I just don't think you should. D-. Next up, we have Petrified Field. Is taps for colorless. Sacrifice this land. Return target land card from your graveyard to your hand. Nope. Nope. Why are we doing that? We're not going to have any lands that matter because most of these are not good for limited. So this is an F. Don't play Petrified Field. Really bad. Plaza of Heroes. You can tap for colorless, or you can tap it for 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast a legendary spell. Okay. Add 1 mana of any color among legendary permanents you control, or you can pay 3 mana and tap it, exile this land. Target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. There are some legendary creatures in the set, but I don't think you should play this card for them. So I'm going to give it a D- because technically, yes, you could play this, and yes, it could do something in some of your decks, or maybe your opponent's going to screw you with it at one point, but I don't think you should play it still, like almost all these lands. Next up is Power Depot. It's an artifact land, and this land enters tapped. It has, you can tap it to add colorless, and you can also tap it to add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast artifact spells or activate abilities of artifacts. Sure. And it has modular 1, so this land enters with a +1/+1 counter on it. When it dies, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target artifact creature. This could be helpful in your artifacty decks if you wanted to cast artifact spells with different colors. So if you're super heavy artifact, this could actually tap for blue-red, right? And then if you're in a situation where you're black-red and you sacrifice this and you get to put a +1/+1 counter on an artifact, it's just hard that it has to be an artifact. So how many artifacts do you need in your deck for this to be great? Like over 10, like 12 or something? So Power Depot, still probably a D. Yeah. It's going to be feeling really bad when you like play this tapped and you're like, sweet, I can, play my blue and red spells. And then you're like, wait, I can only play my blue and red artifact spells. Crap. And then you can't do the other cool things you want to do. So not obsessed. Next up, we have Reflecting Pool. Add 1 mana of any type that a land you control could produce. Okay. Reflecting Pool, I actually think you can play. This is like a C. Because if you're in a situation where you need double pips for something, this does do both sides. So this would tap for green and for white if you're looking for your double pips, as long as you also have a forest and a plains. So I would play this card, actually. This could fix your mana and could do what you need it to do. So this one's worth taking. Yeah. Reflecting Pool is a C, which is like a really good grade for these lands. Next up, we have Scavenger Grounds. It's a desert. Taps for colorless. You can pay 2 mana and tap it, sacrifice a desert, exile all graveyards. This is probably the desert you're sacrificing. And I don't think we need to worry about doing that. So this is an F. It's an F. Don't play this card. Next up, we have Strip Mine. You can tap it for colorless or sacrifice it and destroy target land. You're not going to have to worry about destroying lands because none of them are any good. So don't worry about Strip Mine. There you go. I don't think it's worth it to hope that your opponent has a creature land to blow up with this. It's just not going to be worth it. Just save your instant speed removal. Next up, we have Sunken Citadel. This land enters tapped. As it enters, choose a color. Add 1 mana of the chosen color, or you can add 2 mana of the chosen color. Spend this mana only to activate abilities of land sources. That's the second ability, doesn't really matter, but we don't have very many cards that you can just play and it enters and you choose a color. So this is a C. You could play this card. It would fix your mana. It would help you. It is essentially a dual land for our purposes because we just don't have other ways of fixing our mana. So I would play this card. Sunken Citadel, even just as the weird text of just, get it. There's a Crossroads card from the last set that was a common that did this, but we don't have that in this set, so this is the only option we have. So take Sunken Citadel if you see it. It fixes your colors. Next up, we have Swarm Yard. It taps for colorless, or you can tap it, regenerate target insect, rat, spider, or squirrel. No. Don't play this card. It's an F. Really bad. There are not those creature types in the set really at all. I think at all. Maybe insect is in there somewhere, but I didn't check because this looked so horrible. What was the point? What's even the point? It's awful. Don't play this card. Next up is Terrian. That's not right. Terrain. That's the word. The ship is confusing me. That's what it is. It's Terrain Generator. It taps for colorless. You can pay 2 and tap it. You may put a basic land card from your hand onto the battlefield tapped. Okay. Sure. This does work. How many times do we have to do this for to be really stoked about this? 2 times? It does kind of feel like it just does spells ability. But ultimately, I still think it's probably like a D+. Like, you could play it in your deck if you're trying to ramp hard and you have lots of lands and lots of card draw. But, if you're doing this instead of playing other cards, you'll just quit. The thing is, you'll just quickly run out of lands to play. And then this is just a taps for colorless kind of card. Or if you draw late, you can't really do much. So, D+, you could put this in your deck, but I don't think you want to. And last but not least, Thespian's Stage. It taps for colorless. You can pay 2 and tap it. This land becomes a copy of target land, except it has this ability. Why would you want to do this card? Technically, you have Thespian Stage and Lotus Field in the set, so you could do that thing, which maybe is a joke, but it just doesn't seem good. It's so bad without anything else. And a lot of these bonus sheet cards feel like they need the other bonus sheet cards, so I don't know if it's like all these cards are so bad and limited that you'll get a bunch of them so you actually can unlock weird combos because of that. There is that possibility. If you take Lotus Field and then you do get the Deserted Temple to untap it and whatever, that's cool. Ultimately, I think you want the cards that either fix your mana because they're in your colors, like all the creature lands we were talking about, or the other colorless creature lands could be worth playing. But for the most part, if it doesn't do either of those things and it has a bunch of text, just skip it. Just get rid of it. You don't have to worry about it. Bonus sheet, kind of weird this time around, but really easy to go through. Baseline, don't pick those cards early. If you see a card that fixes your colors, pick it up. That's basically it. Anyway, let me know what you think about the bonus sheet of this set and everything in the comments below, and I will see you all later. Thanks. Bye.